I had heard about this, and when I seen it, I wondered if anybody did the FOIA. I don't think they did, so I did the FOIA. This is weird because there's 2 incident reports, but there are like at least 6 911 calls on each incident report. People were seeing these multiple monkeys in the area. I'll read you this report here. It's in the book, and it basically says that AC from Mike King from the Department of Agriculture requesting call from someone that could give him more information regarding the monkey situation. One of the news reports that happened, this woman was talking about how she had seen these things. They were taller than her garbage can, or as tall as her garbage can, and had really long, swinging arms. She didn't describe seeing a tail or anything like that.
This is Bigfoot Crossroads. My name is Matt, and joining me is Eric. You may remember him from episode 127, where we were talking about the legend of Harryman Road and a few other things. Well, Eric's back because one of the things that we kind of jumped into on that episode was Eric digging around in old archives, utilizing a little thing called the Freedom of Information Act to obtain records of possible Bigfoot reports. And Eric, I think you've kind of made that your bread and butter, haven't you?
I've really focused on that. Yeah. In these last, 2 or 3 years, I kind of jumped into the whole Bigfoot community with just an open mind, looking at different things. And I had seen that no one had really been utilizing the FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request, on a federal or a state level. So my background is in public information, so I knew how to do FOIA requests from doing other FOIAs, and I started submitting some FOIAs for different things I had heard about pertaining to the subject of Bigfoot or any type of unidentified bipedal creatures, any weird type of police reports, anything like that, news that I could hear about. And to my shock, I actually got quite a few responses from these different requests from all over the country. And the majority of those are going to be found in the book that I just released. It's called Bigfoot, the Redacted Truth. And it really goes into just my hunt over the last 3.5 years doing these FOIA requests. And just the information in here is just kind of wild that nobody's really seen this stuff before on a federal and, again, on a state level. You just kind of you hear about different stories and anecdotal evidence, and that's all great and stuff, but I kind of wanted to lead into if there was any hard data that we could actually measure. And I think I got lucky with doing these FOIAs because, I'm going to go over some of this stuff, and it's kind of speaks for itself. And if we want to go into it, we could even say there might be some type of a cover-up angle here. I'm not going to go out and full-blown say it's a cover-up, it's an intended cover-up, but just going over the data, some of this stuff is just weird. A lot of things missing, cases that were never finished, animals that remain unaccounted for, that with, our technology nowadays with drones, dogs, we should be finding whatever these things are that the people are reporting. So, I'd like to go over some of that with you if you're down for that, Matt.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is kind of like my thing. This is the sort of thing that really gets my juices flowing whenever it comes to this stuff. And it seems like your angle is something that would be a no-brainer that would have already been done. But like you're saying, I've been around for a pretty decent amount of time now. And I was fortunate enough to hook up with some people that have been around a lot longer than me. And before you, I don't recall anybody ever really trying to approach it from this angle and find the paper trail, because we always hear stories about 911 calls, and we've heard the recordings and stuff, and we've heard about people, making different reports, but you've actually had some pretty decent luck with obtaining actual records and copies of things where people did report this stuff, and it did get put on record to some extent, and there was some investigations going on. So what's the story, man? Where is all this stuff going? Because like you're saying, these investigations oftentimes seem to be open-ended, or they just drop the case, or what do you think happens?
That's a really good question. I mean, it almost seems like it's an effort to kind of drop these cases. Like they were kind of just told, hey, give this up or whatever. It's odd. I mean, and you mentioned before, not really that many people have been doing this, and that's kind of a shame because we've lost a lot of information that we could have received from certain incidents if we were able to get it, on time, or within the time frame that some of this stuff takes place. Because unfortunately, I've learned that a lot of these 911 calls, these agencies, state and federal, they'll only hold these calls for like 30, 60, 90 days. So after that, they're erased and it's gone from the record. Nobody ever hears from it. A lot of times there's not even a transcript for these calls, which is a shame. But yeah, I mean, I'll just go over probably the one that I think is one of the more interesting ones. I think we kind of touched base on it the last time I was here, but to me, it's just super interesting because I believe it's the only ever Bigfoot sighting to ever take place documented in a national park. And it actually took place in Dino National Park in Colorado. And this was in 2020. Really strange circumstances. And I had the FOIA request. It's in the book. And I'm just going to read you a portion of this. It comes from the Department of Interior. That's the parent department of the National Park Service. And I mean, everything is just pretty much redacted in here. The officer's name is redacted. The report author is redacted. We should have that information. We should have his badge number. The badge number is not even redacted. It's just not listed. So all that stuff just kind of seems really shady off the bat. And then we have in glaring letters at the very top, I've never seen this in other FOIA requests before. It says, please note, asterisk, 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 this incident contains information that has not been approved by a supervisor. So right there, you're telling me, what's going on here? Something seems off.
Yeah.
And I have the incident number here. We know it took place. I'll just read you the summary report. It basically says that Bigfoot hunters flocking to Yampa Bench Road report bone piles near road and Bigfoot sighting near Cleopatra's Couch. Bone piles may be related to poaching, possible OB camping along Bench Road. Unprepared visitors visiting area in the winter may result in increased risk of search and rescue. And it basically just says Cleopatra's Couch, the area. So there we have it. This is the only, I believe, incident report from the National Park Service that contains the word Bigfoot. I've never seen any other one produced. And we should have so much more information here. Unfortunately, all we have is that incident summary report, which that makes no sense. We should have at least 3 or 4 pages here. Every other FOIA I've received, you have very little redactions, definitely not from the officer or the report author. So this is just a puzzle in itself. Why did all this stuff happen? Why was there no further, investigation taking place? And I think I figured out what it was. That's because they had sent me, after I got the FOIA request, I did like an exemption for it. Like I filed an appeal. And what I got back was even weirder from the original investigation report. And I'll just read you what they kind of told me. They were basically saying that the only reason there is an incident summary report, not a full record, was because, and this is verbatim here, the ranger who completed the case report was medically incapacitated at the time and did not have the ability to conduct a thorough report and follow-up.
Huh?
So, I mean, if that doesn't sound fishy, then I don't know what does. We have that. I mean, I think they use the medically incapacitated, because it falls under a HIPAA exemption.
Right. And
once it's under HIPAA, you can't get anything out of that. It's exempt from any type of search. So something weird happened in Dino National Park in 2020. Multiple people reported a Bigfoot sighting, and they don't go out and investigate. Like,
they reported piles of bones.
Exactly. Now, if it were a bear or a cougar, I'm sure they would have been out there in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
They would have rushed out there.
And I mean, national parks, like it just seems to me that they would, one, definitely investigate any claims about people stumbling across piles of bones in a national park.
Yeah,
And two, it also seems rather odd that they would specifically mention Bigfoot hunters.
exactly. Yeah, and the other thing is that we don't know how this was reported. We don't know if it was a phone call. We don't know if it was an email, if it was a face-to-face interaction. We have no idea how this report came to be, and we should. That should be in there, but that's been withheld for whatever reason. So on top of that, it's like, what the heck's going on here? And I've talked about this before. Some people have speculated that could the ranger himself been the one to make the report and was medically incapacitated after seeing whatever this thing was?
Yeah.
It's really interesting when you think about it. But again, we should have a lot more information about this than we do. And is that by design? It kind of makes you wonder, is this an effort that's being done to, I don't know, make people feel safe out there? It's just weird. It's really weird.
I mean, they're passing it off as like something that's not even that big of a deal, but at the same time, the report got kicked up to the Department of Interior and information was redacted for some reason.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the bones were mentioned. So did they identify the bones? What's the deal with that? They didn't mention anything about that. You'd think they would want to go and figure out who those bones belong to, an animal, person, whatever. So this case kind of just, when Bigfoot was involved, seemed that, I don't know, something happened, something was triggered, and that's all the information we ended up getting out of it, which kind of sucks. But there is a record of at least something happening. And I've been trying to find the alleged Bigfoot hunters that were out there, for a couple of years now. No luck. So if anybody knows about people hunting out there in 2020, December of 2020, Dino National Park, please reach out to me.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a story there. I do.
Are you finding that a lot of this stuff that you're getting is sort of like that, just very brief?
A lot of it's brief, and a lot of it's kind of like without explanation. Like they won't go into detail about a lot of stuff. You'll get a lot of little short summaries and information that's just kind of minimal. Nothing really of anything you can sink your teeth into. And again, like you wonder, is that by design? Yeah.
Have you done this sort of thing for stuff not related to Bigfoot? You said that you have like a background in public information.
Yeah, I've done this before. Yeah.
Comparably, the Bigfoot stuff is much more lacking in information compared to like regular stuff that people get.
It is. And you're kind of wondering, is that because they're not taking it seriously, or because they're like, that's their gimmick? Like they don't take it seriously. That's it's like they're assigned not to take it seriously or something like that. And even some of the state stuff, the federal will get kind of stick their nose into it when it's federal. It's not even any of their business, or a larger part of the state will get interested in it if it's like a certain county or whatever. And I really noticed that when I was doing I did a FOIA request on an incident that took place in, of all places, Cincinnati.
Huh.
It was a really weird incident that took place, and it was in 2021. And there are a few news reports, articles about it. A group of monkeys had been seen in Cincinnati in 2021. There's video of it. There's at least one video that you can see on like social media sites, YouTube, and you see like 3 or 4 dark figures that they're saying are monkeys in a tree, and they're pretty good size. They're hefty, and I had heard about this, and when I seen it, I wondered if anybody did the FOIA. I don't think they did, so I did the FOIA. And I got back 2, this is weird because it's 2 incident reports, but they're like at least 6 calls, 911 calls on each incident report. So that by itself is weird. Each call should have their own incident number, incident, summary, all that stuff. And it looks like they just kind of bulked everything into 2 reports, which is just kind of weird off the bat. But people were seeing these multiple monkeys in the area. And it got to the point where the Department of Agriculture, I'll read you this report here. It's in the book, and it's a detailed incident report. And it basically says that AC from Mike King from the Department of Agriculture requesting call from someone that can give him more information regarding the monkey situation. So again, there were multiple monkeys kind of roaming around in Cincinnati. People were seeing them, taking video. And in one of the news reports that happened, this woman was talking about how she had seen these things. They were taller than her garbage can, or as tall as her garbage can, and had really long, swinging arms. She didn't describe seeing a tail or anything like that. And again, the original guy who called, his name was Lucky Griffin. I have his reports in the book. And he basically says that he sees these things walking down the road as he's on the phone or whatever. I would have loved to have had those 911 phone calls as they're describing what they're seeing. But I reached out to them, and this is one of those agencies that they only hold the calls for like 60 days and then they erase them. So we should have like 911 calls from this thing, at least 8, if not more, about people reporting these apes just kind of roaming the area. And I'll read you a little bit more of this report here, because it just kind of gets weirder, and you'll see where the kind of cover-up angle goes. This happened, I read you that first part, and this was a couple hours later. It says, spoke with resident West 8th and Harrison, reported last night video seeing at least 4 or more, last seen through the woods at the EB in cemetery. No sign of camera from resident, approximately unknown who they belong to. WLWT has been advised to contact PIO. So again, this is a different person making a call, pretty much saying that, hey, we're seeing the monkeys in this area. And then shortly after that, we have someone else calling, different name, 3 hours later. They're basically saying, heard monkeys around the area, seen nothing. And then it says that they linked it right here in the call notes. It says that they linked it. This one is really interesting. This is another person, and it says, Comp, they called in. This is Comp was watching the news and was told to call if they had any info. Comp advised her dog was barking at a screaming creature in the tree on Easter, and it was a monkey. Then it ran to the top of a swaying tree. Body of the monkey was koala bear size. Monkeys last seen Easter Sunday. Can call if needed, and wanted to confirm that the original called are not lying. So right there, that's just a crazy call right there. This isn't even the same day. This person is saying, hey, we saw these monkeys like days before this happened. So koala bear-sized monkey doesn't sound like a capuchin monkey to me. And if you do see that video, they look really bulky and hefty, almost like chimpanzee size. That other woman describing as tall as a garbage can, arm swing, you get that ape picture more than a monkey picture.
Yeah.
So people were out here seeing things. I mean, this thing was screaming at her dog. A screaming creature in the tree is literally what this report says. Her dog was barking at it. Ran to the top of a swaying tree. So really weird stuff coming out of Cincinnati. Multiple people seeing whatever these things were. And then here's another call that happened a few hours later, about 4 hours later. Redacted advice, you could hear the monkeys up in the trees at her location. Sounds only recorded, no visual. Now, we should have had those sound recordings in the FOIA request that I did.
Right.
But that wasn't included. I don't know why, but it wasn't. We should have those. Someone else calls. Can hear some kind of animal sounds from the woods, no visual. And then this is where it gets interesting. So they go to the location, this last location where they can hear recorded the audio with no visual. And it says, no monkeys, just owls. And then about a minute later, it says, just located owls in the woods. And then it says, CPD has closed their incident. About an hour later, another incident pops up. Shasta police stated he heard monkeys in his backyard, but they're no longer there. So they try to cover this up real quick, saying it was just owls in the woods.
Yeah.
Even though people had video, even though multiple people across the city were seeing this, they just said owls. And then an hour later, again, another monkey report. Just weird stuff. I have no explanation for that. I don't know if you do.
I mean, that's how Planet of the Apes starts.
Right?
I mean, that's crazy. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, listening to you say all this stuff, read it off the reports. There should be so much more information.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a group of monkeys, like, I could understand, like, okay, one monkey, maybe one phone call or something, it gets out, it's not that big of a deal. But I remember various instances where groups of primates have escaped captivity, and it's a pretty big deal.
It is. Yeah.
I've never heard of this. I don't remember hearing about a group of monkeys in Cincinnati, though.
Yeah. And not many people have. Even people from Cincinnati haven't heard of this, which is weird. Yeah. I mean, very few news reports about it. Odd stuff. We should, like I said, we should have like at least 8 911 phone calls. We should have individual incident report numbers for all of these, but they just grouped all of these stuff into like 2 different reports, which is that's just crazy to me. I don't know why I've never seen that done before. And then again, we have the Department of Agriculture wanting to know what the heck's going on over there.
Yeah.
So that's like at a state level, he's wanting to know, he's not in the county or anything like that, but it kind of shows you that everybody was really taking this seriously. And they never found anything. They found nothing with all the drones. They had dogs. They had, I believe, a team from the Cincinnati Zoo out with tranquilizers. They had, again, I said drones, people on foot. They never found anything. There's no explanation to where these monkeys came from, what they were,
where they went.
Where they went. Yeah, exactly. We have no information about that. It's just the closed report, incident status closed. I'm saying at the top. Really weird stuff. No explanation for it.
A lot of instances of, I'm just thinking randomly here, but like, so obviously zoos have primates and you've got some rehabilitation places and like that. But if the animals get out, it's a pretty big deal. And then you have medical testing facilities where if the animals get out, it's really a big deal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's 28 days later right there, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just seems really strange that it's just shut down like that. And like, oh, well, we found some owls. Time to move on. Right.
And the Cincinnati Zoo had been contacted also, and they're like, nope, we got all our monkeys. So they sent out a team just to kind of help with the situation. And again, no luck. Nothing was ever found. And this kind of leads me into another incident that took place, because this is just so eerily similar to an incident that took place in Santa Fe, Texas in 2019 that I also have the reports for. They're in the book. And this one is weird, man. This one's really weird. I'll read you the original incident report. That was the very first thing the public knew about it or whatever. The after everything came out, the sheriff had to come out making like a public service announcement saying, hey, if you see a chimp in the area, don't touch it, don't approach it, call us. Like, this happened. I think it was on there, even on their Facebook page and stuff like that. I'll read you this police report here. So this was on 9. Okay, you know what? I should actually, let me see. No, yeah, okay, this is the right one. Yeah. So this was actually on September 10th, 2019. Everything started. And it basically says here, possible monkey sighting. Game warden advised he will be speaking with ACO about the issue. And then it says, per 1111, send 1111, ACO contact, gives the name of the person. And then it says, we'll need drone. Several hours later, about 7 hours later, it says, assisted ACO via drone in attempting to locate a monkey, but the search was unsuccessful. Check the area via drone, unable to locate monkey. So about 6 hours into this investigation, they've got drones in the air looking for this monkey that's been roaming around Santa Fe, Texas, and they weren't able to find it. They weren't able to find it at that time. And it's weird, again, because they had to go make a public statement. The news coverage on this one was a little bit more extensive than what was going on in Ohio. There was actually a lot of people reporting on this. One of the more interesting ones was there was a woman on location kind of reporting about it, and they come back from a commercial break, and there's like a truck driving right past her, and she goes, they just told us they spotted the monkey down the street or the ape down the street, so we're going to go to that location. So this was happening in real time. People were seeing this thing similar to the Cincinnati one all over the area, but we didn't get any video of this one like we did with the Cincinnati one. witnesses did come forward. There was this one witness, I think probably got the best look about it. She was the only one that spoke to the public about it. And she said that she had seen that it was in the middle of the night. She had seen this thing digging through her garbage cans. She made a report. I have her report. It's in the book. And it was standing tall, lifting the garbage can, digging through it. She closed the blinds, called the police, and they came out and didn't find anything. But then other people were reporting it, mainly the officials, government officials in the area, kind of downplaying it. They were making it sound like it was a smaller monkey, a capuchin monkey. But all the reports I have make it seem like it was a lot bigger than a capuchin monkey or just some random tiny monkey out there. And I'll read you another instance of what I'm kind of saying here. Everything continued on for about 2 days. And a couple hours later, this is the same day that this happened. This was happening at 9 p.m. at night. And again, it says, here's howling. Thinks it may be ape on the loose. Now, a small capuchin monkey, I don't think howls like that. The way they're describing it, it sounds like something bigger. And also, the nature of this police call was a suspicious person. So that doesn't sound like a little monkey for an animal control issue. They're talking about something howling, an ape howling. And it really kind of just goes even more from there. The next report we get is right before midnight, 11 p.m. This is another report here. And it says, caller advises he hears primate, possible visual. So this person actually got a visual. I would have loved to hear that 911 phone call as they're saying, hey, I'm looking at it, or I saw it. It's this tall. Then we would know for sure. It's this size. It's this. I'm sure they were describing it. I don't know why we don't get any type of transcript or any other information about these calls. We have nothing. All we have is just a couple little words acknowledging that a call was made, which is just, to me, it's just terrible. But imagine if they were describing this thing in detail, what it looked like, the size of it. Just really interesting stuff. And again, I did the FOIA request. I got about 4 individual police reports from League City and Santa Fe City Police Department. Those are like the 2 neighboring counties. That was really interesting. And the other thing was that the news was reporting this was an aggressive ape. I have never found any type of information in any of the reports about mentioning aggressive. It did this, it did this. No, I found nothing about that. But I did do a FOIA request for the email server at that location for this time. And I got something really interesting. To me, this is kind of like, I don't want to say smoking gun, but man, it's just so crazy. This was an email. It was never meant to see the public. It was from the county clerk there, sent out to an outside source. And the subject is OMG, oh my God. And it says basically, OMG, there is a loose monkey out in Santa Fe, Texas. It is between 3 to 4 feet tall and attacking people. What the heck? It's been missing and out and about since Friday. So that's just crazy to me that internally they're kind of saying at the different sheriff's offices and government agencies, they're saying this thing attacked somebody. It's a wild ape. That never transpires in the reports, but I believe it's factual because the county clerk is stating it.
Apes, period. But 3 to 4 feet. I mean, that's killing people. That's ripping their arms off. That would be like a huge problem.
Oh yeah, no, that's a big deal. And I mean, they were taking it seriously. Definitely, if the sheriff had to come out and basically say, "Hey, if you see a chimp running around, don't touch it" or whatever.
My conspiracy brain, though, is telling me, like, was it a chimp?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's kind of thinking that. Honestly, again, they never found anything. They had drones in the air. They had dogs. They had people, gangs of people out there. They found nothing. They turned up nothing. They closed this investigation. If there was a wild monkey on the loose, wouldn't you think you'd want to kind of keep looking for it?
Yeah. The
other thing is that they mentioned in this email that it's been out in the loose since Friday, like kind of like it's a monkey they know about or whatever. I did FOIAs trying to find any type of incident where a monkey attacked a person or a kid or whatever, and I have nothing about that. So that's interesting to me. And after I started talking about this, multiple people reached out to me from this area with different accounts of what they believe it was. Like one guy reached out to me saying that he believed it was like a mother and a young one. because people were reporting different size variations. Some people were saying small, some people were saying big. And then another guy reached out to me saying, "Oh, that was an escaped chimp from like a chicken farm." And I was like, okay. I looked into that, and I couldn't really find anything to substantiate that. One of the more interesting ones that I received was from this man who had reached out to me, and the story was really kind of fascinating. He told me that his son and his son's friend were out dove hunting in Santa Fe, and that his son had seen this, what he thought was like a monkey, an ape in a tree. And then I can't remember if he said they shot first or this thing attacked first, but he said they shot at it and it jumped out of a tree and scratched this kid's face. And that is where the attacking people portion of this whole thing comes from.
Huh.
And that's just kind of, that's just kind of weird and interesting. I can't find anything to really substantiate that, but we know something happened to make this thing aggressive or like attacking people. We know that. So that's just kind of odd in itself that we have unidentified ape that at least attacked at least one person out there. To me, that's just insane.
Yeah.
And we have no explanation for it.
3 to 4 foot tall, at least. Like you said, reports of different heights, but we have that one at least confirmed by a witness. I mean,
yeah, and then you hear the howling and stuff. You're thinking big. You're thinking something big.
Yeah, and I mean, chimps, as far as I know, don't howl. I mean, I know some of their vocalizations. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but yeah, again, I just think like if something like that got loose, logically to me, maybe I'm wrong, but somebody would report it like, "Hey, my chimp got loose." You know, that's my chimp. Can we get it back? And I understand maybe it was owned illegally or something like that, but it all just seems really suspicious.
It does. And I mean, there's been cases of that before, like tigers getting loose in Texas. Like there was a whole, I think for like 3 or 4 years in a row, there was like a tiger that you'd hear about in the news for escaping, constantly. And that's what I first thought when I heard about this, until I started doing the FOIA request. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. And those tigers and everything, they always find those. They're out for a couple of days maybe, and then they find them. They'll have a drone, they'll have a team out there, and they'll spot it and they'll find it. They never did that with this. They never had any type of explanation. Again, like the Cincinnati thing, we don't have an identification. We don't have, where these things came from. We've got nothing. And that's kind of concerning to me, honestly, if they're reporting an aggressive chimp out there, or an aggressive ape, I should say, out there attacking people that was never found. Like that's a little concerning to me.
Yeah. And just on the skeptic side, let's say it all really is known primates, escaped or whatever. That would definitely explain some of the Bigfoot reports that people have. So it's crazy that either way you look at it, either it's a potential Bigfoot or there's potentially loose primates running around in the woods in some parts of the world where they're not supposed to be at.
Yeah, everything about this is concerning. And again, I really would have loved to have those 911 calls, because I think with those calls, we would have definitely got some type of, again, height, size, or what they look like, because we don't have any of that stuff in these reports. We have barely. We don't even have an identification. So it's just one of those things, again, kind of like the Cincinnati one, where there's no closure here. We have no idea. We don't know anything. We just know people were seeing some type of ape creatures possibly in these areas, which is, it's just, man. And people say, about Bigfoot sightings or whatever. There's, people say, how come they don't call the cops or anything like that? Well, I mean, maybe this is one of those cases where they just kind of turn it into monkey stuff. And you'll see that theme kind of continues through my investigation. A lot of times they'll just say unidentified monkey. There's few and far between where they do say Bigfoot, but I do have reports where they do say Bigfoot.
If you were calling in, to report seeing a Bigfoot, and you're just like, I don't know what to do. Should I call the police? Who should I call? And you do end up calling. you don't want to sound crazy. You don't want to say a
That's
Bigfoot.
true.
So like it makes
That's
sense
true.
that people would say, I don't know, it was some kind of monkey or ape or something.
Right. I think there's a lot more of those calls than we know about. I think there's a lot more. And I'm hoping to uncover a lot of those. And I've been lucky with some stuff. And we talked about getting laughed at or whatever by calling about Bigfoot. I want to talk about the Harrison County incident that happened in 2023, where unfortunately that's what happened to this gentleman who did call the authorities to report what was going on. And they didn't treat him as well as they should have. I'll just say that. And this was in, it's so weird. It's so weird because that last one that I talked about in Santa Fe, Texas, it happened September 10th of 2020. Yeah, it was in 2021. I'm sorry, 2019, September 10th of 2019. This incident that took place in 2023 in Harrison County happened on the same day. So to me, that's just kind of wild. Harrison County, Santa Fe, they're very close. They're not that far apart. Kind of swamplands, both areas. Harrison County's a little bit to the north. But I'll just read you this incident report here. This one I received through a Freedom of Information Act request. And it's the whole call sheet here. I have the 911 phone call. This is one of those rare instances where I was able to hop on it as it was happening. So I submitted my FOIA. I have the 911 phone call. I have it on my channel. I kind of took it down because I'm going to be using it in my next documentary. I'll be going out to this area in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully talk to the witness, go out to this area because it's the whole thing is just kind of fascinating to me. And I have the image that was taken that's mentioned here. I'll just talk about it real quick. It says, caller reports that he may have spotted something like Bigfoot on his game cameras near the Samuel Murphy Estates off of the Lovely Road. RP was transferred to public service. And then at the very bottom, it says, sighting of Bigfoot on game camera. So this gentleman believes he has a photo of a Bigfoot on his game camera. And he reported it to the local authorities. Now, the Harrison County Sheriff's Office ended up transferring that call to the local Fish and Wildlife, I believe. So they got involved. The ranger with the Fish and Wildlife got involved. That's actually where I got the image from. I FOIA'd them, and I got the image from them. But the gentleman called because he was concerned. He was ranching out there. He's got a hayfield out there. And this thing, you can see it, the images in the book, it's standing very tall in the middle of one of his fields. The proportions are just all really weird, and it's just an odd-looking photo. I have no idea, what it is, but he was concerned enough to call and say, I think this might be Bigfoot. And you had talked about it, saying that kind of sounds crazy, making that call, but I'll give this man his props for that. He actually made it and says, I think this is Bigfoot. And unfortunately, they were professional while he was on the phone, but as soon as they hung up and called the game warden in the area, the dispatchers were kind of like laughing, like, hey, he says he's seen Bigfoot. And you can hear laughing in the background or whatever. The game warden hears it and he takes it seriously. And so he's like, all right, I'll go ahead out there. And so they call him back to get his information, the witness's information, and they say, hey, we're dispatching the sheriff out there. The sheriff is out there for less than 4 minutes before he closes the incident. That's what it says in the report. He's out there for 4 minutes, closes the incident. Really weird. I don't know why he did that, but I spoke to the witness, and he's kind of back and forth. He wants to give me an interview, but he was really upset at the way this was handled. So hopefully he's still willing to give me that interview. He's definitely said he'd take me to that area, so I'll get at least that, hopefully. But again, really odd and strange stuff here. Just looking at the photo is just really, really strange looking, and I've got no explanation for that. Again, I think there's more of these phone calls out there than we kind of are led to believe. I think there's more, not necessarily saying Bigfoot, but maybe they are saying, hairy creature or monkey or ape or something like that. And this is really the stuff that I'm looking for. To me, this is a complete investigation, I guess you want to call it. I heard about it. I made the FOIA request. I have my original FOIA request. I have their email they sent me. I have the original call sheet. I've got the 911 phone call. Um, I've got pretty much everything. I've spoken to the witness. So this one, I feel like we got a little bit of closure on this one. Not everything, because we don't know what's in that photo, obviously.
Right.
But this one feels a little bit better because, again, we've everything here. It's still kind of unsolved, but there's more information here. And the only reason that is because I was able to jump on it so fast. Again, if it would have been 30 to 60 days and no phone call, we wouldn't have been able to ID the witness, any of that stuff. I'd be lucky to get the image, honestly. I think as time goes by, that even gets a little bit harder. And some agencies want to charge money for that because it costs to dig and look for that stuff. So I got really lucky with all of this. And the image is weird. Again, the image is really weird. I kind of do a little bit of an analysis in the book, just the proportions. It's right next to a deer feeder, a little behind a deer feeder, so you can kind of gauge a little bit of size, and it does look fairly big. So it's interesting. I don't know.
Did you get the name of the fish and game person that investigated?
Oh yeah.
Have you tried to contact them?
I have tried to contact him. I've been unsuccessful, but I know someone who has spoken to him that lives in the area, and didn't really go into detail about what they had talked about. He just said that he knew that person. I think on a personal level, he knows that person. But I know who he is. I have his identity and all that type of stuff. So I'm going to be going out there to film this follow-up documentary, and if I could get in touch with him and the witness, get him at the same location, that would be really cool. I don't think anybody's ever done anything like that.
I just want to take a quick break here to talk about the fact that the holiday season is already upon us, and it's never too early to beat the holiday shopping rush. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else. Uncommon Goods is filled with products that are unique and high quality. Many of the items they carry are handcrafted by independent artists and small businesses in the United States. You can literally find something for everyone. Uncommon Goods has a huge variety in pretty much any category you can think of. It was a breeze finding something perfect for my mother-in-law, who is one of those people that already has everything. Uncommon Goods has awesome items for anyone on your list, from mom and dad to the little ones and even those pesky teenagers. No matter what they're into, you'll be able to find the perfect gift. So shop early, have fun, and cross some names off your list today. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/Bigfoot. That's uncommongoods.com/Bigfoot for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Just being able to follow something through from beginning to end like that is really what everybody needs to be doing that's calling themselves a Bigfoot researcher. Not putting you in that group or anything, but I'm just saying in general, like obviously you're proving that it can be done if you're willing to put in the work.
Definitely. And I think, you kind of hit the nail on the head right there. I think everything should be investigated to the, umph degree, I guess. Just names, dates, and when you're out there, always keep some type of log or whatever. That's just always important. And always try to convince, the witness, if they're willing to give their name, because I think that just kind of gives power to the witnesses, to the people who've seen this thing. Maybe we start some type of, witness awareness group or something like that, where they can kind of get together. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll continue on, because again, there hasn't been many documents that actually have Bigfoot in anywhere in the documentation, but this one, a couple others, that it basically says it out loud. And this next one here is really weird, because it kind of borders on Bigfoot attack. I know that other one kind of does too, the one that happened in Santa Fe with the aggressive monkey, but this one gives us a little bit more details. Again, unfortunately, we should have the 911 call for this, but we don't. We don't even have a transcript for it. This happened in, I'm going to try to say it, Washtenaw County by Ann Arbor, Michigan. And this, again, oddly enough, this was in September. These last three things we talked about all have been in September. September 26, 2022 at midnight, 12:31 a.m. Location is redacted. Dispatch office is redacted. And I'll just read you basically what it says in the CFS narrative here. Call comes in, 12:32 a.m. Caller out in the wilderness in a Jeep at a tree farm. Just heard someone yell outside. Caller thinks it's Bigfoot again. Caller says he wants to go to the hospital to get out of the tree farm. HVA to stage, Wandersome, back to the line. Trooper can move the sidebar to let open the fence, was calling for ETA and secure HVA. So basically, they had to go and assist this person out of this area at midnight because of some injury. And he mentions that he thinks he hears Bigfoot again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the heck's going on here? He hears Bigfoot again. Where's the first time he heard Bigfoot? It's crazy. Like I have no explanation for that unless he called before saying, hey, I'm hearing Bigfoot out here. And then he calls again saying, I still hear Bigfoot out here again. We have no information. And this is kind of, is it by design? We don't know. Since he was injured, HVA, I believe he gets medically escorted out of there. This is going to, again, fall under that HIPAA thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So once it does that, we're not going to get any information. Was this guy attacked by a Bigfoot? It's interesting.
I think you had sent me that one.
I did. I sent you this one, yeah.
And I remember reading over it, and like you're saying, it kind of insinuates that the guy was injured by a Bigfoot. And even the reporting officer is like talking about a Bigfoot.
It's weird because I think the reporting officer is picking his words very carefully.
Yeah.
I don't think he's wanting to say what exactly happened because it makes no sense. He just basically says, just heard someone yell outside. Caller thinks he hears Bigfoot. He wants to go to the hospital. Like, where was the injury mentioned? There was, they don't mention he called before. This happened, none of that stuff. It should be in the FOIA request. If he called multiple times, I should have that. It's nowhere to be found. Any
type of first responder dispatched or anything?
It just says HVA, and I think that is some type of medical, from what I understand. But after that, yeah, we don't get any type of nothing because it goes into that HIPAA thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like he got attacked by a Bigfoot. I mean, this is the closest thing I think I've seen to a Bigfoot attack report. And that's kind of what I titled it in the book, Bigfoot Attacks.
Yeah.
Because this is just, I have no explanation for that. It doesn't say he rolled his car, was in a car accident. It doesn't say he got, shot or something. It just says he wants to go to the hospital because he hears a Bigfoot. Why would you want to go to the hospital because you hear a Bigfoot? Makes no sense to me.
And why a Bigfoot? Why a Bigfoot specifically?
And why a Bigfoot? Again. Yeah, he says again. So it's like, what the heck's going on? Imagine hearing that 911 phone call. Get me the heck out of here. Imagine just hearing it.
I mean, there's been a few Bigfoot 911 calls that obviously have gone viral on the internet. People especially have heard the one from Washington. Then there was another one not too long ago where a lady saw one crossing the road in North Carolina, maybe. I'm probably wrong about that, but
no, I think I've heard both of those, and I've tried getting info on the Washington one, but I'm not able to get any type of FOIA out of that. But this one is just, I would have loved to hear that phone call.
I guess it makes sense that they only keep them for so long unless there's some sort of actual crime where, there's probably a court order to archive it or whatever, but it just seems awfully convenient that all these Bigfoot 911 calls are gone.
Exactly. No, exactly. And again, is that planned? Is that something they thought about before? So when I put this out there, a lot of people reached out to me saying that they've had similar experiences in that area, which I thought was really cool. That's exactly what I'm trying to go for. I'm trying to put this stuff out there and have people reach out to me with saying, oh, I reported that, or I also something, I saw something, called the cops, whatever. we can look for that and have a database of these actual 911 phone calls mentioning Bigfoot, these 911 reports mentioning Bigfoot. I don't know. It's just weird stuff.
Now, before we went on the air, we were talking about an incident where a bone was involved. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that. That's not in my book because it's weird. We're writing this book. I had to kind of postpone because for your request, you don't know when you're going to get stuff back. It could be a month. It could be several months. So I kept pushing it back. And this is one of those instances where I could have put it in there, but I would have had to push it back again. And I didn't want to do that. So what happened, I was doing some FOIA requests for county up in Washington. And I asked them to give me all their emails they had on their email server from a certain date to a certain date. And it was a couple thousand. And so I started digging through those and I found some interesting stuff. And what really kind of just caught my eye was the subject line of one of those emails. And it basically said unidentified bone. And as I open it up, I look and I start reading the email chain that's going on. And it's about a woman who's emailing the local museum in the area asking for some clarification. She had just inherited a bone collection from a biologist she knew. And so she's looking over this bone collection with a friend, and they see this bone. And they're like, what the heck is this? They have no explanation for it. And I believe they were told by the biologist while that person was still alive that this bone could potentially be a baby Bigfoot bone. That is mentioned in the email chain. They mention, is this a baby Bigfoot bone to the museum when they email it. So they email the museum emails them back saying, hey, that's really interesting. We kind of want to get the sheriff's office involved, because if that's a human bone, we need to take a look at it. So the email chain starts with the sheriff's office saying, hey, we need you to bring that bone in so we can test it and all this other stuff. And communication basically dies on that point. The person doesn't seem to respond. And even in the email chain, they're saying, hey, this person's not responding. This is getting weird. We need to go out and test this bone or whatever. And that's kind of where we're at. There was a picture of the bone. I should have said that. There's a picture of the bone at the very bottom of the email chain. And it is a mandible. It's a bottom jawbone. It looks very thick. There's a few teeth. The teeth, from what I understand, they're different in number from what's usual. But that could be because someone has told me that could be like a Native American thing or something like that. But the teeth there's not as many as there should be from what it looks like. And so I've had one person look at this. I don't want to mention their name, but credible person, works with bones a lot. And he thinks it's very unique. He's never seen anything like it. And he said that, it could be what he thinks is baby Bigfoot. And I obviously wanted some more answers. Unfortunately, all we have is one photo of that bone. So I reached out to my friend, Doug Hychek. He was the producer of Monster Quest, and he's a pretty influential name in the community, I should say. Great guy, nice guy. And so I asked him if he could take a look at it, and he has sent that bone to, I believe, 2 different people to take a look at it. So we're waiting on what they're going to say about it. We are waiting on that, but it's interesting. It is an interesting looking bone. I'll just say that. Yeah. And you hear about these stories about people with personal collections and being locked away and stuff like that. And that's actually what happened in this case. This guy was a biologist. He knew or didn't know what he was looking at. Either way, it kind of stumped him. So he's hoarded that bone for about 30 years. The email chain was from 2009. So I'm trying to get a little bit more information. Everything's kind of coming up on a dead end so far. But hopefully Doug will come back with some information, even if it's I really don't want to believe it's a person, because if it is a person, then it's a child. And I don't want to think about what they went through, unfortunately, out there.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see what does come out of this, because the bone does look weird. It's thicker. The people I've talked to said it's got, doesn't have as many teeth as it should. So interesting stuff, I think. Yeah, and I'll definitely try to make it public when we hear about what it is. Obviously.
I mean, that's kind of, something I've thought about over the years is people ask, well, where are the bones? Well, would you even know one if you saw one?
Right.
And here we have a situation where, like you're saying, a biologist was stumped enough that he held on to it for 30 plus years, and it got passed on, and that person thought it was odd enough to reach out and try to figure out what it was.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird looking bone that we're hoping to get some answers on.
So what is your upcoming documentary going to focus on that you're working on?
Yeah, the upcoming documentary is going to focus on the reports, the actual hard data, the 911 phone calls, the police reports, the federal reports. I'm going to be going to the location I mentioned of the Harrison County phone call where that happened. I've spoken with a witness. I'm going to be going out there very soon. Hopefully get some measurements, talk to them, see what comes out of that. And then also in that area, there was the infamous, I should say, Kisatchie National Forest incident that took place in 2024, where a group of kids had to be evacuated from Kisatchie National Forest because of a bipedal creature with like glowing eyes that was growling at them. And I have the 911 phone call. We're going to be going to that area. I have the actual coordinates of that area. So I'm hoping to go back and finding like an abandoned campsite out there. How crazy would that be, just to find a completely abandoned campsite where these kids were, because they left in a hurry. The ranger went out there, took them several hours to get out there, evacuated these kids. The only FOIA information I got was from the Natatoches Sheriff's Office, which is the neighboring county, I guess, from the Kisatchie National Forest. That's basically a national forest. It falls under the National Park, Bureau or whatever. They should have had a report about this incident, especially since multiple kids were being evacuated. They had no information on it, absolutely none, which to me is kind of concerning that these kids had to be evacuated, and the federal government is saying, yeah, we don't know anything about that.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's just wild to me. That's really crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I know a guy that went to the location, I think, with one of the guys that had to be evacuated.
Oh, wow, that's wild. Yeah, I've spoken with the witness, and they are younger people. I know that. And I'm trying to get him to go back out there, but I don't know if he wants to.
Yeah, so odd. I mean, especially whenever you know a specific event, it's recent, it happened, and then law enforcement is telling you that they have no record of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's unexplainable. So I'm sure you've probably heard about the no taking of skunk ape clause. Have you heard about this in Florida?
Yes.
Okay. So I have, without a doubt, the reason why that was implemented. I did a Freedom of Information Act request, and I actually did it through the U.S. Parks and Wildlife. And I had we had a meeting, a phone meeting. Me, one of the managers of the department, I guess you should say, and then another one of his colleagues. We all had a three-way meeting, and I basically told them what I was looking for, and they thought it was really interesting. And so told them about that. And a couple of months later, a month or so later, they sent me back some information. And I think this is probably one of the more interesting pieces they sent me. It's the reason there is a no taking of skunk ape clause. And I'll just read you the clause real quick. It says specific hunt regulations, hogs, no size or bag limit for hogs. Take them all. Take the hogs during any hunt season except spring and waterfowl. In designated archery areas only, CMAP, only bows and crossbows allowed. Coyote may be taken during archery, muzzle loader, general gun, and family hunt seasons. At the bottom, it says there is no taking of swamp or skunk apes. So that was a real, absolutely real document that was implemented. And I have the reason why that was. Let me just pull it up here. This is the letter I'm going to read you guys. This was taken by the refuge manager of one of the areas here. This was the reason that was implemented. It says subject Bigfoot or Sasquatch in R2 and R4. Those are the regions. And this is what he wrote. While I do not have an easily findable administrative record of this phone call, I may have a handwritten note in my yearly notebooks. In or around 2018, I received a phone call from this gentleman who had a YouTube channel. In his phone call, the gentleman thanked the refuge for stating in our annual hunt brochures that there is no taking of skunk or swamp apes during our hunt seasons. I was inclined to include this no-take clause in the annual hunt brochure due to an undocumented in-person conversation I had with a hunter who advocated me not to allow this and to clearly state it in our hunt brochure. This I did. The gentleman who had the YouTube channel then phoned me as he hunts in the lower Swanee NWR. He spoke with me for close to an hour and exhorted me to look at his channel and to see the lengthy interviews with the Dixie and Lee County refuge hunters who witnessed the swamp or skunk ape. That is what they refer to in this part of the United States. So that is the reason that was implemented. This person, this manager of the refuge, had a conversation with a hunter out there. I wonder what this hunter might have shown him, would have told him to convince this person to include that in their brochure. That's just wild to me.
There's no way that was just a run-of-the-mill conversation.
Absolutely, right? And it's conveniently, he says it's conveniently, it's not, I might have a note about it, conveniently undocumented. That's what he said. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
So I would have really loved to see what this guy told him, what he showed him, but it was enough for him to be, okay, dude, you convinced me. I'm putting that in there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. This guy was good enough to convince him not to put it in there.
Oh man. My mind's just racing with what it could have been. Like, I mean, I've heard,
exactly.
I've had a guest on this show that had an absolute crazy encounter story from Florida. And this was a guy who's not in the Bigfoot world or into Bigfoot at all. It was just a random chance thing where I ran across him on the internet and was like, hey, would you mind sharing your story? And it's one that stands out for sure. I've heard some absolute crazy stories from Florida where I don't know. Everybody always talks about hearing that Bigfoot are more aggressive in Oklahoma and Texas. But it sounds like to me that there's some pretty aggressive stuff with the skunk ape going on.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely sounds like it. And I think they know a little bit more in the parks and stuff than they're kind of alluding to, because with that same FOIA, I got an internal email. Basically, kind of this was never meant to go to the public or whatever. But I'll just read a portion of it. The title of it is called Track Casts, and it says, "Hey," and it mentions the name. I checked the tracks today about 11 p.m. today. None of them were completely dry. The Bigfoot track was most dry, but the toes were still wet, probably because we used the remixed plaster on those, and the plaster we mix in the field on the rest of the foot. I'm going to give them all another 2 days to dry before I go back out to get them. And it says if they are still not dry Wednesday, I'll make some new ones on the tracks I can find out there with the correct plaster or Paris procedures. So right there that's a employee of a park in Florida saying, "Hey, I'm going to be casting those Bigfoot tracks again for you. And if those don't work, I'll go out to where there's more and I'll cast those." He's not saying like I'll fake some more or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's saying I'll go to the area where we're seeing them and I'll get some more. To me, that's just crazy. This was never meant to see the light of day by the public.
And just flat out calling them Bigfoot tracks.
Just like that.
Wow.
Like they're all over the area. It's wild to me that you're just nonchalantly saying it. I want to end it with, I think, is the greatest Bigfoot sighting documentation I've ever received, I've ever seen before. And I got this through a Freedom of Information Act request to the Federal Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Okay.
And I was really shocked at this one. They told me they had over like 3,000 reports that they were like withholding or whatever. They only gave me one report, and it's freaking unbelievable. I can only imagine what the rest of these reports look like. And they sent me a folder that was this is lying somewhere in an archive somewhere in the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The folder literally says incident report number 2318, 62578. So this took place in 1978. And it says redacted, residence, animal, or Bigfoot. That's what it says in the file folder. And I'll just read you what kind of kicked off everything. There's a multi-page investigation that went on. We've got multiple agencies out there taking a look, and what triggered everything was, it says it right here, June 25th, 1978, on a Sunday. At around 8:49 p.m., this woman calls and it says, narrative of information received. Redacted called and requested an officer to Redacted. She advised she'd seen an animal or Bigfoot by her residence. Needs someone to check it out. And then it says, see investigation report. So this woman basically called the authorities because she believed she had an encounter with a Bigfoot. And I'm going to read you what the special agent in charge, the Federal Bureau agent, wrote about this. There's a handwritten thing from the witness and everything. It's a really cool thing. It says, subject, animal or Bigfoot seen by residents. And it's to the agency special officer, Officer Redacted. I checked the area where the animal was seen. I had Officer Redacted and Conservation Officer Big Redaction with me. Officer Redacted and myself walk up to where this animal was seen. The conservation officers drove up to the green water tank located above Galtiero Flats. After checking the area, the only thing found were tracks belonging to a bear. Officer Redacted said he would put a bear trap in that area. Officer Redacted also advised that due to the dry weather, it is causing the animals to come down from the mountain looking for water and food. The persons who saw the animal were Redacted. Both persons said that the animal they saw was standing up and his hands were in the air. Both subjects were frightened. They then began telling me that they had heard that Bigfoot was seen in Head Springs, and what they saw, they were sure was a Bigfoot. I advised them we would go up and check the area. So there you have it. I mean, that's crazy. You've got these native people on the Mescalero Apache Reservation in New Mexico encountering, I believe, a Bigfoot, and they know what a bear looks like.
Yeah.
I think they know what a Bigfoot looks like now. So to me, this is, and there's a handwritten witness thing and everything. To me, this is the greatest Bigfoot incident of all time. We've got multiple agencies involved. We got the report. It's insane. Like, these people were so scared, they called the reservation officer saying, hey, we need help with this. They went out there, at least 6 officers were out there investigating the area. We have no photos of these alleged bear tracks. I think they would just kind of.
This is going to be the official statement on record. It was a bear.
Exactly right. We don't have any bear prints, even though we should have photos and all that stuff. No measurements. They should have mentioned all that type of stuff. Nothing. But I think these people who've been in this area for a really long time know exactly what they saw. I think they saw a Bigfoot, and to me, that's obvious. Just reading, their reports and stuff.
And they said that they had 3,000 incidents that they're not releasing.
Yeah, they had like 3,000. Yeah, 3,000 documents they couldn't release to me. Yeah.
Wow.
And this is just one that took place in 1978. It's been hiding since 1978. And it's fascinating to me. It's just incredible. I've heard of a lot of stuff happening on Native American reservations. You hear these stories. We have it now. We have it as it's a fact now that this has been reported. And it must have been reported more than once. They're talking about another sighting that took place in Head Springs, which is like a neighboring area. So I think they have a lot more information than what they've released to me. And it's a shame. I don't think we're ever going to get that. But at least we got this report here. And I think it's really kind of like a gold standard. It's incredible. It's from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. You're never going to get anything from a Indian reservation. Those communities, they don't have to release anything.
Right.
So yeah, this is just kind of a really lucky to get that report.
With the United States, what are the laws? What information are they required to give you whenever you put in a request?
Well, they have these exemptions, and the exemptions kind of block them from a lot of stuff. And they're kind of blanket exemptions. They're really wide, so they can deny you for all types of stuff. Like, one of the things they'll say, like, If it's a national security issue, they don't have to tell you. If it's an ongoing investigation, they don't have to tell you. Things like of that nature. And I have received the ongoing investigation one a couple of times. I have gotten that. But a lot of this stuff, it should be out for the general public. But again, they'll use these kind of blanket exemptions to get away with not giving you everything. Like the same thing with the Florida thing. Florida was like, we have X amount of documents, but we can only give you X amount of documents just for, those exemptions, really. And again, they're just kind of blanket exemptions that you can appeal. That's a thing. You can appeal, but I've never had really any luck in an appeal. I think I did one. It was like a first state one. And that one, I got lucky that they gave me the information for that one. But they're pretty much saying like, oh, it's let them appeal. And then that'll give us like a year or two to kind of get their things in order to where they'll give you more of a definition of why it was exempt or whatever.
On their time.
On their time, exactly. They'll deny it right away, and they'll be like, "Oh, if he files an appeal, then it'll be like in a year, and we can get everything we need to basically say it's exempt because of this reason." On their time, yeah.
I mean, as we move into the digital age, I'm sure a lot of this stuff has been lost, if it was ever kept to begin with, and yeah. It's just crazy to think about how much stuff's been lost. I think about that a lot.
So much stuff has been lost. 911 phone calls, videos. I remember I was trying to find a alleged video that was taken in East Texas in like the 80s. They clearly stated they recorded this and like sent it to the sheriff's office. It was a dead end. I haven't been able to find anything on that, which I thought would have been really amazing. I have gotten that one photo, but that's because, again, I jumped on it literally the day it happened, or the next day it happened. So, I mean, we've lost, we've just lost so much. We've lost more than we've gained, unfortunately. That's the truth.
Well, I'm looking forward to the book. I'm going to enjoy going through this for sure. And, if someone isn't me, how can they get the book?
It's on Amazon. It is Bigfoot, the Redacted Truth. My name is Eric Palacios. I'm the author. And you guys are interested in actually getting some hard data, some reports that actually say Bigfoot in the report, please consider taking a look at my book. I think it's good for anyone's collection, really, to have, because it's tangible. It's data that it's there. It's something that I put a lot of work into, and I'm proud of it. And it's my first book, so it's not going to be perfect, but hopefully I'll be able to. I still have a lot of folios that are out right now. I'm just waiting to get information back. So if this goes well, then I might try to write another one. Maybe with that information about the bone that we get from Doug. I still have a lot of stuff that's a lot of irons in the fire that I'm waiting to get back.
Yeah, I would like you to write another one. I would like you to keep on pursuing this interest. It's fascinating to me, and thanks for doing it. If someone hasn't already told you, I mean, because this is a lot of time, effort, and money that goes into this project, and I, for one, appreciate you doing it.
I really appreciate that. That means a lot, and I appreciate what you do. You're an independent. And we've talked personally about how I feel about people being independent and stuff like that. And I really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thanks, man. Maybe we can do some stuff together.
Definitely.
Something that would be interesting to me is if you expanded outside of Bigfoot eventually.
I do have some reports I have some Beast of Bray Road reports. That I've got from Walworth County. It's really weird. It's really crazy. And then I have some, you hear a lot of that LBL talk and stuff. I do have some files from the LBL. I don't know about that whole massacre type of thing, but I have a really crazy story of them finding human remains in the lake there, which is just, the whole story is crazy. I have all the documentation for it. Really wild stuff. So maybe, I might do something to where it just encompasses all these just weird reports that aren't necessarily Bigfoot related, but I would consider them cryptid related for sure.
Yeah. Hyenas, man.
Yeah.
There are so many hyena reports that I had
I've
no
heard that.
clue, but like I talked to someone that like a lot of hyena reports for some reason, or things that are hyena shaped and resemble hyenas in places that they shouldn't be.
I've heard about that in like West Texas. I have heard of stuff like that. Big canines out there. My dad even said he had an interaction with like a big canine. That, yeah, weird stuff.
Well, Eric, thanks for joining me and coming on and talking about this stuff. I've really enjoyed it. I will definitely have you back again, and I hope the listeners enjoyed it as much as I did.
I appreciate you having me on, and we'll definitely be talking soon.
Yeah. If you've had your own encounter with Bigfoot or something else you can't explain and you'd like to report it to me, email me at bigfootcrossroads@gmail.com. Check out the website, bigfootcrossroads.com. You can find links to the social media, merchandise, past episodes, everything you need, all in one place. And until next time, remember, there's something in the woods.